No. So babies learn in the world that they came into. We adults that they meet, we teach them ways of things. Don't go there. You know that woman is looking at you strangely. Next time, don't. We teach people those things, and it is from our environment. They talk about nurture. Nurture or nature. So the question is, does our environment nurture us, or does nature? Is it by nature we just evolve that way? No, but we know we are nurtured. You understand? Our environment has an impact on us. So you find out that our behavior and our responses is based on where we have grown up, the things we've been exposed to, the philosophy that they teach us. Let me give you one. I know that there may not be everybody who speaks Yoruba language. I was fortunate enough to return back to West Africa, specifically Nigeria, and to be more specific, Ibadan is where I learned these adages or proverbs, they might call them. So in Yoruba land, one thing I learned, when you're an English boy and you go back to Nigeria, there's some things that are a bit strange. People have secrets, they don't talk about everything. If an English people don't get fibroid, but if an English person had a fibroid, they will tell everybody, I'm going for a fibroid operation. If an African person, especially from the part of Nigeria, say, don't tell them, the enemy. You understand? Where did we learn those behavior? We learn them from our culture. You see what I mean? So culture has an influence. So that Yoruba saying says, tissue any banter, amount for all. You understand? And my question is, issue your teeth, because your hand, any yam that, well, for those that don't understand Yoruba, it means that, this yam tuber, when it's growing, they said, if it's a proverb, he said, if your yam is growing, you cover it with your hands. I said it hasn't sprouted enough, because if it has, your hands cannot cover it. So it's not big enough. But you see what I mean? That is a philosophy, it's a mindset. So the mindset is teaching you that if your glory wants to shine, that you should somewhat hide it and pretend that it's not shining. Whereas Jesus, in the scripture, the Bible says that, would you have a light, a lantern, and put it under the stool? Would you not put it where everybody will have it? So you see the philosophy, what is teaching us? That is also where the attitude comes from. Does that make sense to you? That is where attitude is informed. So we kind of develop this, you can't be this, you can't be that. So I don't know if that addresses the question directly for you.
What I want to know is, can you learn an attitude?
Yes, you can. And that's the reason why I answered it that way. You can change your attitude. Therefore, you can learn. You can learn an attitude.
So, which means you are copying somebody's attitude. Because you said that attitude, you cannot separate a man's attitude from him. We are our attitude.
Yes, we are.
To paraphrase.
Or you can teach a man to have a better attitude. So you can't separate it. Like if I have a certain way about me. That's the way I have about me. But I can come into an environment like this, for example, or by influence of friends and things like that, and then I can now learn that actually that attitude that I have would never prosper me. And then I can begin to change the attitude. So when I said it's inherent, what I'm saying is that the ability to learn is inherent in us. And therefore, because the ability to learn is inherent, leadership is also inherent. Because we can change. You see what I mean? That's it. Somebody else had a question.
Praise God. Please, sir, I just wanted to ask a question. It might sound funny.
No,
you see, in the secular world, let's assume that you're a leader and you've been doing everything that's possible as expected of you, and also putting up the right attitude by the grace of God. But you now found out that your followers are not really trying to let's say they're kind of demoralizing you. What do you do in this case? Will you cultivate the habit of saying no and giving up your leadership position?
The question has, I don't know the specifics of the kind, but my understanding is that the question has a bit more to it of how you found yourself in that position of leadership.
Okay, in this case now, by like what you said, leadership, it tends to surface maybe during times of conflict, and that's why the person came up as a leader.
Yes.
And in this instance, that's where this question is coming from.
Okay, so the question is, does that leader possess competence? Should I use the word competence or competencies to make a difference in the challenge. So, for example, I'll give you a quick example, then you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong. So, for example, I'm a software engineer by profession. I work in investment banking, so I worked in most of the investment banks in the city. I worked in most of them. The days I started working there, I was the only black guy within at least most of the organization at that time that I knew. It's possible they are in other buildings, but at least the one I worked in. So therefore, because of the level in which I entered into service, some of these Caucasian born, you understand, were under me. I was their boss. Now, they are not accustomed to being ruled over, if I may put it that way, or a black man being their boss. That's their problem. It wasn't mine. However, the challenge I had to be able to handle my position is how to relate to that Caucasian that they see the value that I bring to the table. Am I making sense to you?
Yes,
so sometimes the disconnect is our inability to understand the culture of the other person and vice versa. They don't understand my own culture as well. You know, and then obviously we have different gestures and, you know, sometimes black people speak a bit louder. It seems like we're aggressive. You know, we have all kinds of things. You understand what I'm saying? That is different. So coming specifically, and tell me if I'm right or wrong if this is correct. Okay, so coming specifically to that, whoever it is, whenever you are exalted, there is always a power struggle because initially there was about to be a vacuum. So power struggle means that you use your competence and ability to establish your position. There is nowhere, think about it, anywhere in the world, you take somebody out and put somebody else in, there's always a challenge to the authority. It is the first thing that always happens. Now, it is your job to understand that it is not personal, even though they will seem to make it personal. It is not personal. It is the nature of the job. It's the nature of leadership. It's the nature of what it is. So people would always challenge you. In this church, if pastor should suddenly say, he looks, you know, maybe somebody just joined the church and then he says, I'm going to be making this guy a minister or a pastor over maybe a section of the church, and he pulls the person up. The day you emerge above the others, immediately you stand out there, somebody's already saying, you've been thinking about it. That's why he's always following the pastor. You understand what I'm saying? So immediately, there's a challenge. So everything you try to do in the first week, they will make sure you do it wrong. Down to talk. The person who was there was talking better than you. Don't you see how pastor talks? Is that how? That's how you talk. You understand what I'm saying? So don't take it personal. I don't know if my answer makes perfect sense to you. So hopefully maybe if I touch on some of the other bits, I'll be able to then expatiate on what you can do to make those things happen. Yes. I'll take that one more and then I'll quickly touch on.
Sorry, I'm asking another question.
Yes.
You've spoken so many things which are really good. So I picked a lot.
Okay.
You said this one is really inspiring. You said each and every one of us is born to lead in a particular area of his assignment, and you have to lead in an area where you have passion to be a perfect leader. Now, the problem amongst human beings, us, is that how do we discover our area of assignment?
Okay. How? You've opened a big it's a seminar, you know, like I do this thing, like I said when I came in here, it's called SI2P, which is Step into Purpose. And one of the things it deals with is letting people realize what purpose is to start with. And then understanding sometimes that you're already working in purpose, but you just don't know. You see what I mean? But I will see when I share with you tomorrow again. I will see if I can touch and more elaborate on that particular question. But if I start now, it will take a bit more time. Are you okay with that? Okay. I've asked again because of time, and like I said, this thing normally it takes like a whole day or half a day or some parts of the seminar. So we're trying to squeeze it into next thing. So let's go to this is where I stopped, I think. Where I stopped is influencing through leadership. Okay, so I dealt with the influence. The next one is this is leadership and management I'm going to deal with. So I said influencing through leadership, and I think I touched on that when we used the example of raising 3 pounds 50, the method of raising it and things like that. It's about influence. So let me hear you say, leaders influence.
Leaders influence.
Now, you can influence in many ways, and the reason why I had them put this and add it to the slide that I might go in this direction is that there is a difference between leadership and management. They are not one and the same. So sometimes we also mistaken leadership for management. So sometimes we want managers and we say we need leaders. You understand? And sometimes we need leaders, but we go and get managers. And there's a difference between them. So let me explain. Remember that I said leadership is inherent. Everybody has an area where they lead. Now, management is definitely a learned skill because you learn to manage what exists. You don't manage people, you manage processes. And I'll break that down a little bit. Say to somebody, you don't manage people.
You don't manage people.
You manage processes.
You manage processes.
How many of you have found that people are the hardest people, resource to manage? I know that we have resource management and it includes human resource. Okay, so somebody might challenge that point that, so how is it that we don't manage people? No, we don't manage people. That's why, look at the Fortune 500 companies, they have processes. And they put people in charge of processes. You see that it's easier to raise a leader where there are processes than if you are trying to manage people to become the process. So let me explain that. A leader is somebody that says you're looking for property, or maybe you want to change the total design of this place, or maybe you want to raise 500 men. Somebody will say, I think this is my calling. And he will come out, he has no predefined process. He has no predefined process. What he has is a goal, a mission, something he has to accomplish. How he's going to accomplish it has not been established. Now, a manager, on the other hand, has to have something established. How many people have you thought they gave you a responsibility and you say, how should I do it, sir? I want you to think about that. That means you're a manager, you are looking for a structure to manage. So managers operate in structure. Leaders operate usually in the beginning where there is no structure. They create structure. That's why they can bring organization out of chaos. Because a leader can see, he has a vision. Let me hear somebody say, a leader has a vision. A manager doesn't have to have a vision. You only need to tell him what is involved and what he needs to manage. You see, there are different things. So sometimes we are asking managers to tell us their vision when they don't have any. They want to work with your vision rather than create their vision. So think about yourself. Who are you? Are you the managing type or are you the leader? And people mistaking, like I said, position being leadership. That's not, so if I give you a position. So let me give you one quick example because of time. In this church, we collect tithe, we collect offering. Now, this money needs to be banked every maybe Monday or Tuesday, whichever day of the week it is. Somebody needs to collect it. Somebody needs to count it. Somebody needs to write it out to say this is the amount. And then somebody needs to go to the bank and bank it. Now, from collection to counting, to writing out whatever you're writing, to delivering to the bank is a process. These are processes. See what I mean now? It's processes. So all you need to do is who will take responsibility for this process. You see now, because you've identified the process, you know what skill you are looking for. So the person who will do this has to have numeracy, somebody who can count. The person collecting it doesn't have to count because they just need to be a people's person that smiles as they are collecting. Am I making sense to you now? So ushers, so if somebody says you're going to be an usher and you don't have people's skill, then say N. Because you are not an usher. If usher is your ministry, in fact, before they smile at you, you'll be smiling, my brother. Hey, I've got, you will dress extraordinary. You will have some cologne on, and when they smile, say, I want that brother to come by me so that I can put my money, my envelope in the offering basket. Why? Because it just makes me feel good. That's an usher. But if you're and you're even looking at somebody you're not going to put today. That's how you looked last week. You can manage him if you don't have any other resources. But that is not your usher. Now I want you to test this. Put an usher that qualifies in personality and everything to manage the process of collection, that has the smile, the right attitude, and tell me if your offering doesn't increase. It's a test. So you can prove me wrong. Test whether your offering doesn't increase. It's not magic, it's not gimmick, it's not manipulation. It is nature. People like people who look, who respond better. And if somebody comes frowning to me, I'll just look at the offering basket. You can take it. Or if you are too much in a hurry, you understand what I'm saying? I'm thinking, well, wait, I'm the one giving the money, not you. Wait and collect. So you understand my point. So now you can understand that that person is managing that process. It's different from leadership. So it doesn't mean that a leader cannot also be in a position of management, but what I'm saying is that when you think about the skill set, when you think about the position, it's totally different. Now, the person who wants to, who has to count the money, just has to know numeracy and administration. I can write things in a certain way, and I can count these numbers and they will add up. That person will be perfect. You see what I mean? Now, when it comes to banking, because I suppose in these kind of things, sometimes you don't want it to be the same as the one and the same person doing everything. Now, somebody just needs time available and is reliable and has integrity. That's what you are testing for when you want to recruit that kind of person. Management. Say to somebody, you are managing processes, not people. Because when you recruit the person, it should be the right person anyway. So why would you need to manage the person? You're recruiting the right person for the job. So I say to you, sir, I only go to work at 3. I only do afternoons. So every Monday, I'm available to go to bank. Now, the next thing is you can be available, but you may lack integrity. Then you are disqualified for the job. So what I need to look for is somebody that has the time and also has the integrity. Then there's another person who is the person who does the check and balances. He doesn't touch the money. He doesn't bank the money. He only sees the figures that come back to him to say it was done according to request. And it's perfectly. What was paid in balances with what was on the paper. They don't need to be saying, so when are you paying? How did you pay? No, was it paid? Did it equate? See? Shike no. Job done, isn't it? That is a manager. Different from a leader. Say to somebody, leaders must be able to identify skills. So a leader must be able to, first of all, define what he wants. So if you have a vision, you must be able, or let me say, maybe to make it to be, take it a step higher, just say a leader must have a vision. I think it's better saying it that way. A leader must have a vision. Why? Because his vision is going to do something. So I'm talking about team and management. Or maybe I'll get to that slide first before I talk about that. Okay, let me stop on this end. So leadership, team, and management. Because of time, let's go to the next one. So discipline and commitment. In fact, a perfect link. Discipline and commitment. So a leader must have a vision because the vision will discipline his choices. Makes sense? A leader must have what? A vision because the vision would inform his choices. Right? And it would also inform the discipline. In fact, how would you say you are disciplined if there is no vision? Disciplined in what? Because discipline just means making decisions effectively and timely. That's what, and consistently. So all the decisions you are making are your discipline. So you know what needs to be done. But so if you don't have a vision, then what decisions are you making? What are the decisions based on? There must be a goal. There must be somewhere you are going. So I can say, well, today I was leaving, I was coming to Leicester. One of the things I calculated is I knew that I had to check in an hotel. So, and then I said to myself, the only way I can know my travel time apart from traffic is by using a navigator. Well, before I plug anything into the navigator, I have to know which hotel I'm going. And so the hotel is my destination, which could be like your vision. So along the way, the discipline I have to cultivate is what decisions do I need to make in terms of my journey to make sure that I get there, one, on time, and I get to the right place that I said I'm going. So you see now that my destination will discipline my journey. Are you with me now? That's the same way you need to see it. Your destination would always discipline your journey. And without the discipline, then you're unlikely to get the kind of results that you are looking for. So vision must exist. So that means that if vision is absent, discipline is also somewhat absent. It means we are just guessing. Now think about your followers. Think about your followers. You are guessing. You went this way, and then you said, I don't think it's this way. We are 4 miles out. Okay, let's go. You told us at the beginning, you know where you are going. So we follow you 4 miles out. I spent petrol for the 4 miles you first took me in that direction. My tank is now half tank. I want you to think about followers, how they think if you're a leader. You take me another 10 miles in another direction. Then you say, oh, you know that green thing we saw on the way, that's where we should have branched. Now, tell me in this room, what have you started to think in your mind? Now, he only needs to do that long enough, and that's sometimes when we don't have visions as leaders, that is what we are doing. And I'm even talking from your home. That's exactly what we are doing. Oh, let's live in London. No, we're not living in London. Now we're moving to Leicester. Now we go to Leicester. Oh, it's something else. You know, where are you going? Tell me, where are the children going to go to school? You understand? Are they going to private school? Are they going to public school? Let's make up our mind. If they're going to private school, well, how much have we been saving in the last 5 years when you know that it will take how many years before they finish secondary school, or isn't it? Well, if they're in primary school, how many years before they finish the primary school to go to the college? You understand what I'm saying? So whichever way, whether school, college, university, if it's private tuition, there is a cost associated with it. The vision is I want my child to go to a private school and then go to one of the best universities in this nation. Well, it has to be planned. Vision. So the head of the home is showing leadership by being definite of his desire. It doesn't mean that he has accumulated or accomplished the amount he needs, but he's made a definite decision of where he's going. Therefore, his actions on the journey will be informed. You see what I mean? So if I say to my wife, we are saving £500 every month for the next 5 years. Now we already know what £500 will be in 5 years. You only need to work it out times 12 multiplied by 5, isn't it? So you know how much it's going to be. Thank you very much, sir. You see, please give me a big round of applause. Yeah? So that has it. Now, what is the next stage? So I've spoken about having the vision. The next one is the discipline I've spoken about, but the third part is the commitment. Now, before we get to capacity, is the commitment. Say somebody commitment. Now, if you are truly a leader and your calling is related to what you are saying, then it means that you must have the commitment. Pastor, I think I can be an usher. Well, ushers get here at 9 or 9:30, whichever the time is. Ushers get here at 9. Do you think you can get here at 9? I see a vision of that not happening. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, it's like if they say, people will start getting, if they say usher should get here at 9:30, then the caretaker who has the key to the property must get here before the person arriving at 9:30. If you know something is always going to happen on a Sunday morning, then don't collect the keys. Say to pastor, I would rather donate money for us to pay a caretaker for 1 hour before and 1 hour after. That is my commitment. Am I making sense to you? You see that you found a solution to the problem. You saying that is already a sign of leadership. That I cannot commit to this because I know I can't. But what I can commit to is I can find a solution. Let's hire a caretaker. How much is it going to be? 1 hour before, 1 hour after. Come and close after. You understand what I mean? It has solved your problem. So these are things. So you've got to think in terms of commitment. God help us. Commitment. Let me see my time. Okay. So let me just take one more thing, then I'll leave it open for questions and answers, and maybe Pastor also wants to comment, and then we'll leave the rest for tomorrow. Let's go to that last bit. This is the last one I will do with you today, is inherent capacity. Say to somebody, capacity can increase.
Capacity can increase.
There is nobody. I want you to look at Paralympics, yeah? You know what that is? People who use extra, I call them gadgets or devices to aid themselves, wheelchair, so on and so forth, to do their sport. I want you to think about somebody who's just lost a limb in Iraq war, Afghanistan war, and they put a carbon fiber artificial limb, but he runs faster than somebody that has 2 normal standard legs. What has happened to that person? Rather than seeing their disability as a limitation, they have increased their capacity by walking around the limitation. Say to somebody, you need to increase your capacity. So I'm saying most of you in this room, you don't have that limitation, at least from where I'm standing. So the only thing that is our limitation is inability or desire to want to increase our capacity, and that is learning. Learning. A leader is a learner. You know, they say, I think I've heard somebody say, this is not my quote, that leaders are leaders. You understand? Leaders are leaders. So I want you to think about what kind of leader would lead me. Now, it's not impossible because I worked in organization, so somebody must have led me. You understand? But what kind of leader would lead me? Now, it cannot be a leader that doesn't read half of what I read. What then would I be listening to? So a leader would increase capacity, and those that are followers would ultimately become leaders, and their capacity would also increase. That's why they always say the leader is the lead. L-E-D, right? L-I-D, sorry, L-I-D. So the leader, L-E-A-D-E-R, is the lead. So wherever his capacity ends is what he can feed the followers, and it will determine what kind of leaders they will become.